Mr. Jeffrey Rowe, Déposition, Mr. Roger Monfort, senior officials and my colleagues, ministers, member of Medef, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. At the beginning, I would like to welcome you all and express my pleasure to be among you here in Paris at the Medef, with the largest and most prominent French businesses and representatives of French companies. I believe that such event is the perfect platform for business community to discuss and explore potential opportunities and undoubtedly contribute to further enhancing the Egyptian and French economic and commercial relations, extending at all levels between our two countries. The Egyptian-French economic, political and social relations have been always strong, with diversified avenues of cooperation and agreements in so many fields. France has always been an important partner and major support to Egypt. The latest finance agreement signed with the French government last June provided a soft loan amounted to 1.76 billion euros, which supported Egypt in completing highly important infrastructure projects in many fields such as transport, housing, electricity, and wholesale markets. France is a major economic partner to Egypt. The depth of the Egyptian-French economic relations is reflected in the continuous increase in the volume of trade exchange between the two countries, reaching nearly $3 billion in 2020, up by 20% from 2019. In addition, Egypt is considered as one of the most important countries receiving inflows of French foreign investments, which amounts to nearly 5 billion euros in light of the presence of nearly 165 French companies in Egypt that provide 38,000 jobs in various economic activities, including the construction, material, pharmaceutical, hotels, and banks. We are fully aware that corona pandemic has negatively affected the volume of trade globally, with at least 14% decline in international trade in the second quarter of 2020. Egypt and France are not an exception, for sure. However, in light of the measures taken to overcome this crisis and to stimulate the economy of our countries, we need to cooperate to boost and diversify investment and trade relations in the upcoming period. To compensate and overcome the pandemic shock, in fact, there is a huge economic potential in Egypt and great investment opportunities for the French companies in several fields that could be grasped. With a strong political will that has always been manifested during several high-level bilateral meetings between our two countries, the road is paved for the French investments to strongly engage in Egyptian mega national projects. Ladies and gentlemen, let me seize this opportunity to share with you an overview of the economic and commercial prospects between our two countries in light of the economic reforms and accomplishments undertaken by the government of Egypt over the last period and its most important sectors. Egypt is implementing an ambitious development plan for the future. As we launched the Sustainable Development Strategy, Egypt's Vision 2030, in February 2016, which offers a framework for the interim plans and work program through the upcoming years. Within this framework comes the successful implementation of the first phase of the homegrown economic and social reform program implemented in cooperation with the International Monetary Fund as of November 2016, with the aim of achieving the stability at the macro level, in addition to comprehensive and sustainable growth based on adjusting the fiscal and monetary policies through restructuring some sectors and liberalizing exchange rates. The IMF praised our economic reform program for being a successful model in economic reform, as the public budget deficit of GDP was decreased from 12% in 2013 to 7.8% in 2020. Inflation rates also declined from 11% to 5.7%, and unemployment rates decreased from 12.4% to 7.3% by the end of the second quarter of 2021. The program also enhances exchange rate flexibility. The successful implementation of the economic reform program enabled us to overcome the negative impacts of the coronavirus pandemic and significantly increased its level of resilience against economic fallout. And let me share with you our recent successful IPO of e-finance for digital and financial investments that have been oversubscribed by 61.3 times last week, with 72% foreign purchase. Human development and social protection have been always the core of Egyptian reform program. Egypt has been deeply committed while implementing the economic reform program to alleviate any tough impact on low income and needy brackets. Therefore, the first national strategy for human rights has been launched in line with Egypt Vision 2030 for achieving sustainable development. And many mega projects have been adopted. And of course, the heart of them are a decent life, or Hayat Karima. This great project in rural areas, with an estimate budget of 40 billion euros, targets for the first time 58 million citizens in one national project, bringing together infrastructure development alongside with economic and social empowerment in 3 years, in partnership with NGOs, with private sector, and local communities. And let me tell you that it is for the first time we implement an integrated project, being the only one that meets all the UN Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, which will be making a qualitative leap in the life of the Egyptian citizens. The government's investment in health and education sectors increased by 170% during the period 2018-2021, which also supported the state's approach to enhancing the efficiency of the human elements that Egypt abounds, where the proportion of youth within the population is greater than 60%. In addition to Egypt's special attention to vocational education. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt currently aspires to complete the economic reform process in accordance with the goals set for enhancing the country's economic performance, as we aim to achieve an estimated growth rate of 5.4% in the fiscal year 2021-2022, and raise the growth rate to reach during the next 3 fiscal years between 6 to 7%, in line with the Egyptian economic capabilities, core competencies, and promising potential. To achieve this, we are currently working on the second phase of the economic reform program that's focused on implementing a set of radical structural reforms to support a strong and sustainable growth for the economy. One of these, I think, structural reform is the reforms regarding taxes and custom duties, which I believe my colleague, the Minister of Finance, will have his contribution to present to you all the reforms that we have managed to do within the custom and the tax sector. In fact, Paris will witness tomorrow the launching of our country program with OECD. The program highlights the pillars that will transform the Egyptian economy to be more competitive with higher productivities by focusing on manufacturing industries, agriculture, communications, and information technology sectors, and raise their contribution rates to the GDP from 26% in fiscal year 2019-2020 to be between 30 to 35% in year 23-2024. In this context, Egypt has set its sights on creating an overall attractive business environment, including the improvement of the situation on the ground as a major investment front for foreign investors in Africa and the Middle East through several mechanisms. Infrastructure development that makes Egypt one of the most capable countries in the Middle East and Africa in infrastructure, electricity, energy, renewable energy, transport and road sector, in parallel with the modernization of legislative framework through methodologies that enhance the centrality of the role of the private sector through simplifying and facilitating procedures for investors through a bundle of legislative amendments encompassing the new investment law, the industrial license law, the competition protection law, golden license, the modernization and automation of the customs system, the launching of the investment map, and the expansion of investor service centers throughout Egypt, in addition to a number of new laws currently being drafted in the same context. Egypt always praises the importance of the private sector in creating a stable macroeconomic environment and sustainable economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, the Egyptian Structural Reform Program offers further promising investment opportunities in several areas, such as investment in new cities, including the new administrative capital and economic zone of the Suez Canal. Egypt is very much keen on benefiting from French expertise and cooperating with France in areas of common interest, especially manufacturing of a vehicle and its component, communication and information technology, ready-made garments, textile and raw materials for carpet productions, small and medium industries, transport, energy and water, and medical industries. The capabilities available to the Egyptian economy enhance the possibility of achieving great leaps in these investment fields, especially since Egypt is a gateway to all African, Arab, and European markets through a set of bilateral and multilateral trade agreements with African, European, Arab countries, and the United States of America and Latin American countries. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 pandemic has imposed unprecedented challenges on humanity as a whole, and the Egyptian economy was also not immune to it. However, the economic reforms that we were implemented succeeded in enhancing the resilience of the economy and provided the government with sufficient financial space to take all measures to mitigate the adverse effect of the crisis. Proactive policies were put in place to achieve a balance between preserving citizens' health and sustainable economic activities, and focused on supporting affected sectors through monetary and fiscal stimulation policies, as well as assisting affected groups to alleviate financial burdens and provide liquidity and credit. These measures succeeded in realizing positive indicators during the crisis, which were welcomed by major international institutions, the IMF being at the forefront, praising the strengths and the ability of the Egyptian economy in handling the crisis, and for being the only economy in the region and amongst a limited number of economies in the world that achieved positive growth rates amounted to 3.6% during the fiscal year 2019-2020, in addition to maintain its positive as the largest recipient of foreign direct investment in Africa, according to the UNCTAD. In addition, the IMF forecasts Egyptian GDP growth of around 5.2% in the ongoing fiscal year 2021-2022. This pandemic has contributed to reprioritizing the state's investment plan, to streamline it with the new global economic order by focusing on sectors that are resilient and able to quickly recover, such as investments in human capital, communication and information technologies, agriculture, industry, logistics, and small and medium-sized projects, as well as integrating the informal sector and promoting financial inclusions, in addition to pursuing a green economy by maximizing investments in renewable energy. The government is also focusing on maximizing the utilization of our existing potential within our preferential trade agreement, mainly COMESA and the GAFTA and AFCFTA. It is also useful to work on studying the possibility of implementing the initiative of the President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, which was presented to the French Minister of Economy and Finance regarding the positive provision of about 10 billion euros in cooperation with the Egyptian government to establish French electric car factories in Egypt and get benefits from the long-term financing provided by the French Foundation, affiliated to the French Agency of International Development for the private sector companies, as well as the grants provided by the Studies and Private Sector Assistance Fund to finance studies that serve further future projects implemented by future companies in Egypt. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we are looking forward to increasing French direct investments in Egypt in the near future in light of the positive developments witnessed by the Egyptian economy despite the corona pandemic. During our meeting today and the separate roundtables, strategies and investment opportunities in different sectors in Egypt will be presented by my colleagues, the ministers, and through our discussion, more details can be elaborated. Finally, I would like to invite you to explore that what Egypt offers in terms of promising investment opportunities in various fields in which we look forward to strengthening our cooperation with you. I am really assured to you and all investors keen to expand their activities in lucrative markets that the Egyptian government will provide all the necessary support in this regards. And I seize this meeting to listen to all of you, your comments about the investment environment in Egypt, to do our best to provide a suitable investment climate for all of you. So we all look forward to meeting you soon on the banks of the great Nile River, and I'm proud to inform you that the Grand Egyptian Museum is almost finished, and once it is opened, and we are confidently expecting more and more French tourists who are fond of the ancient Egyptian civilization to visit the new museum and other favorite places in Egypt. I wish you all the best and really looking forward to listen from you about your insights and proposal for increasing your investment and your presence in my lovely country. Thank you.